In this video, we're going to give you a brief overview of the Infor Cloud Suite Financials Payable solution. Infor Cloud Suite Financials Payables is where we manage all of our AP activity, including invoices, vendors, our payment processes. So when we come to into our solution, we have brought you all here to our Payables Manager role. Again, as I've mentioned in other videos, the solution is role-based. So when I log in, I have access to the various roles that I play within the organization. So from this landing page, I can get some very quick insights into what's going on within my AP activity within the solution. So as an AP manager, one of my primary responsibilities is to ensure that all of our AP activity is moving forward as streamlined as possible. So I can see here my invoice count by processor, so I might see where I may have maybe a processor that has too much activity and be able to balance that activity across those processors in a more streamlined way. So I can drill down into additional detail. All of these are interactive, so if I wanted to see the 26 invoices that Lema has right now, or that Annie, the 23 that Annie has, I can drill down directly into these. At the top of the page, you'll see that I have navigation capabilities where I can go through and see various different solution areas for which I'm responsible. So the first area here is our Manage Vendors. So if we come in and take a look at that Manage Vendors page, where the system brings me to is a vendors search page where I can use the search criteria on the left-hand side to narrow down the vendor results below. And when I select a vendor, you'll see that on the right-hand side I have essentially a snapshot of that vendor. So by simply selecting this an additional vendor, I'll get additional analytics and snapshot views of them. So here I can say, well, I want to see for Joe Wilson, I want to see all the open purchase orders, all the receipts, all the payments. So this gives me a quick snapshot view, and I can drill into additional detail here. Across the top, you'll see that there are additional tabs on this vendor search history, or this vendor search area. So I can see an audit history. So we keep track of essentially all of the information associated with a particular vendor. I can look at balances for my vendors, processing statuses, etc. So if we drill into the details for this particular vendor, we've got some overall details associated with the vendor, so the vendor name, tax information, 1099 information, address, contact, etc. And as I go down the left-hand side, you'll see that I have the ability to add or augment other options for the vendor. So I can enter and track the vendor's bank account information for EFT or ACH payments to the vendor. So you can see that I can specify additional information such as payment terms, which really roll into our prompt pay calculations, additional activity codes. How do I want to match invoices against outstanding purchase orders? I can see, again, a quick snapshot of the balances for this particular vendor. So how much do we currently owe them? I can track certifications and diversity codes associated with a particular vendor, attachments, and I also can document all of the various different locations for this vendor. So if this vendor has more than one address or one location, I can specify that in the vendor file. As part of our federal development project, one of the other things that that will be captured here at the vendor information is any information to support G-invoicing, G-invoicing as well as the federal payment federal payment formats that'll come out of accounts payable. So we're going to come back to that Payables Manager's homepage, and we're going to now go in and take a look at our Manage Invoice capabilities. So the primary transaction within Accounts Payable is our invoice, and that is our mechanism for paying our vendors. Invoices can come into the solution in a variety of different ways. We can import them in from a spreadsheet using our spreadsheet designer capability. We can have vendors submit them electronically through vendor portal. We can bring information in via EDI. We can certainly manually enter invoices as well. So a variety of different ways to get information into the solution. Where I brought you to is our Manage Invoices portal, essentially, which across the top again you'll see that we've got various different tabs that allow us to drill into detail based on various different statuses that we have within the solution of invoices. We also have the ability to quickly see open invoices, paid, canceled, and have the ability to also see searches and a quick dashboard of activity. When I come into one of these pages, you'll see that I have the ability to then sort of sort or filter based on the information that's within the page. So here I've sorted in a descending order based on invoice date, and now I get all of the invoices by their most recent date. I can drill into any of these particular invoices and talk a little bit about the information that we capture at the invoice level. At the invoice level, you've got information such as your invoice type, your process level, which is a way that we can segregate payment processing within the solution, vendor information, invoice number, invoice date, payment terms, the calculated due date. When we come into the invoice, you'll see that we have information such as at the main area, such as the invoice type, the process level, which is our way of segmenting payables activities, vendor information, invoice number, description, invoice date, our payment terms, which again could default from that configuration within the vendor, and the calculated due date, invoice amount, etc. We've got our address information, matching information, so we can actually copy and create this invoice from our purchase order and then have the system automatically do matching for that. You'll also see that there's other information at the options area where I can add diversity codes, authority codes, manage retainage for services-based invoices. Within this invoice, I can split the accounting distribution across any of the chart of account elements that I've defined within the solution. So here, this one is just funded by one particular line of accounting. But again, I can create and add additional ones here and split this invoice by percentage or dollar amount across various different accounting strings. When this invoice is actually posted, for our federal customers, it will automatically generate the budgetary and proprietary accounting entries based on the accounting, essentially the transaction code and the accounting entries defined within the global ledger for this particular transaction type. Again, I've got my purchase orders here, so I can see the purchase orders that it's associated with. I have the ability to capture related documents, which would be any attachments. So that could be a scanned image of the invoice, other internal documents, or information that I want to track with this particular invoice. When we come here to our payment schedule, this is going to be all of the different payments that I have associated with this invoice. We can split payments associated with an invoice, so I can have more than one payment. I can split them over time. split them by dollar amount, or maybe there's another reason that I want to split a payment, but we can handle that situation. Up here at the top, you'll see that I have different actions that I can take, so I can, create a new invoice, release this particular invoice, reassign who's responsible for this invoice, send an email, proactively do our matching, etc. So once an invoice is in the system and it's processed, it's going to be available for our payment processing. If we come up here to our Run Processes menu, this is where we're going to initiate any payment processes within AP. So here you can see that I've got the ability to, for instance, perform cash requirements. That's going to produce a list of, based on the payment dates that I've selected, all of the invoices that we're going to pay in that particular payment run and give me a cash requirements output from that. I have the ability to then create my actual payments, so create my payment output files, create my my manual payments if I have any of those. And as part of this, we will support all of the G-invoicing capabilities for interagency or intergovernmental payments, and we will also support all of the different payment formats required by the federal government for paying our vendors. On this dashboard page, this is going to give us again a quick overview of everything that's going on with our AP activity, and I can drill into the additional detail associated with that. And from a reporting perspective, all of the information that we have here in all of these different pages are automated reports. So if I come here to my unsubmitted invoices, I have the ability directly from here to do my smart actions, but also to print to PDF, export to CSV, create a report, or do some personalizations to add additional fields. So this gives you a quick overview of the payables processing capabilities within Infor Cloud Suite Financials.